remove all my profanity from it. So the gist of this is that we've made a tool in order for us to make all the story that exists in Crashlands, which by itself, without anything in it, is basically an open world crafting game. So we layer in all the story on top using an internal tool we made that lives on the web, which is called the Crashlands Creator. And we realized as we started using it that we could make that tool available to players.
Right. I remember this was all originally part of the original pitch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the tool itself is really ugly, and at the time wasn't secure because it was all internal. And so that's what we've been spending time doing, is making it pretty and usable, and also, privacy sensitive.
Right.
So this is actually what it currently looks like, except nicely mocked up with good CSS and all that kind of stuff. So this is the fancy PDF version of what we're turning into right now.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to give you a quick run through of what it's going to look like. The gist is you have what we're calling creations, because we don't want to imply that you're supposed to make anything, so we're not calling them campaigns or whatever, but you can make anything you want. You can have some set of creations, you can collaborate on them, so you can work with other people on stuff, and you can also have testers, so if you want to do beta testing for
So this is all through the TouchArcade system and stuff?
Okay,
cool.
So basically if you own Crashlands, and when we first start, we're going to have a requirement that you've played Crashlands for some number of hours, because if you haven't, you won't know how the hell to use this thing.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, otherwise anybody who owns it will be able to use it and make their own stuff. So the editor consists of basically these components. So there's of course publishing, which just consists of making it available to other people. We're going to have a beta channel and a release channel, so you can just do internal stuff if you want to, or make it available to any other player in the entire Crashlands community, no matter what device they're on. This includes modifiers or mutators, so you can change the entire way the game works, including things like disabling build mode, disabling recipe drops. You can make it actually so that all that happens is the world exists with nothing in it. Okay. And then you could make a dungeon crawler where you have a series of things that you go through. You give them boss fights and loot and whatever you want. So with we also, coming along with this is a browser that also already exists but is also ugly, so we're working on that, which is going to have a curated list as well as ranked lists depending on player, how many players are playing certain ones, what their feedback is, and that sort of thing. And so there'll be these two web things that people can use to make and then go find and play campaigns. So once the thing is published, the moment you hit that button, it is now available to play on your phone or whatever device you have. And so you literally just boot it up and hit play like you normally do, except now instead of just the big Crashlands campaign button, there'll be a whole bunch of things for what you're subscribed to or what you're editing. So
it's like the file size.
So the one for Crashlands itself is, for that whole huge thing, which is also made in this, is about 250 kilobytes.
Okay, oh wow, cool.
So they're really small. Yeah. And most people working on this will make really small stuff. It'll be just tiny.
But you still use all the same textures.
Yeah. So it's using all the same assets. And so the components are exactly what you'd expect, and these are all the components that we use in Crashlands. So it's all of our character races, including the Viru, so you can actually put in the floating heads as a race if you want to. And you can just make characters. You can adjust their scaling, the relative size of their head and body, adjust colors a little bit. You can give them idle dialogue so that when they get slapped, they just say random lines. You can just add idle lines of dialogue. So all of our characters in Crashlands have just stuff they tell you to make it feel more interactive. And then we of course have boss fights. And so this is using the same bosses that are currently in the game. I think there are 10 bosses. And the way that boss fights work for us is you will basically choose the boss type of all the types that are already available, and then you get to design modifiers on the default battle. So that includes changing it so that there's more HP or less, making damage multipliers, and also making it so that the battle doesn't necessarily start at full health and doesn't necessarily kill the boss. So you can have boss fights that appear to happen over multiple events.
Okay.
By putting one segment at a time. And during those phases, you can also have dialogue that comes up, which I think might not be on here. But so during each phase, which is triggered by a health percentage, you can trigger more dialogue, and you can change the boss moves that are used. And
So how do you control, like, if you wanted to set like the boss movement, how would you?
So what you would do is, so you can't tell them where to go.
Okay.
You choose where they spawn and what causes them to spawn, which I'll get to in a moment. But once they do spawn, they'll just behave the way they normally do with whatever of their moves you allow them to use.
Okay.
And you can weight them however you want, so you can try to predominantly have one move type or whatever. And each one of the phases can have its own speed multiplier, so you can change how aggressive and difficult those fights are. So that's just how boss fights work. The idea is you can then make whatever you want, however difficult you want. So we'll go there a little bit. It's awfully loud in here. And then we have what is my favorite part, which are outposts. So characters and bosses are just things you can place out in the world. Outposts are how you put them there. So we made a little sort of demo, which I'll pull up on my phone when we're done with this, for PAX, which is a little mini version of PAX, right? So it's got a little grid-based editor where you can lay down tiles, and you have access to every asset in Crashlands, so you can build whatever the hell you want. And everything requires a tile to be laid down, and then you just start layering stuff on top. And then it includes placing characters and boss fights on the world. You can put chests, and you can fill them with loot. And then the most interesting part of this is that we have this idea of scenes, where kind of like in Photoshop, where you have layers, where each layer adds or removes stuff, but the original layer is left intact. We have the same thing for Outposts. So every time you add a scene, you can delete a character or make a character spawn or spawn a boss fight or whatever you want, and then you can cause those scene changes to trigger based on what the player does in quests and that sort of thing. And lastly, we have quests, which the quest editor is kind of boring because it's just choosing dialogue and that kind of stuff, so it's not graphically very interesting. But the main idea with quests are, these are the thing that drive the whole player experience in the game. And this can mean anything from the conventional idea that you would think of as a quest, where the NPC talks to you, tells you to do a thing, you do it, and they give you a reward. And that's the basic structure of a quest. But we made it so you can link them together, and they can be branching if you want them to be. And any one of those quests can contain one or all or any subset of those components. And so you can actually chain them together in these really interesting ways. And that's how the entire story of everything that happens in Crashlands is done using this questing system. And it's very modular, so all you have to do if you want a quest to branch is you just add it as you add a previous quest to multiple different quests, and it'll now branch all the same.
Cool.
And yeah, so that's the gist of this thing. And as I show this little picture here of this. So I spent about half an hour before we left for PAX making this current creation, which I'm gonna see if I can pull up my phone. I'll see if it works this time. And we wanted to show you, so it looks like it's here.
It's kind of cool to see it in action.
Yeah. And again, the main beauty of all of this is that you literally just hit publish, and then you open up your phone, and then there it is.
Gotta get that splash screen in there.
Gotta get that branding.
All right. So in the game, once you're subscribed to a campaign, so no players have seen this screen, right? But if any campaigns that you are working on will be here under your creations. So here's just a bunch of campaigns that we were using when we were developing the game to test it. And then we have this creator walkthrough, which is what Adam had.
And this is the demo we're running at PAX right underneath it. So we made that right. Let's see if it works.
The creator walkthrough. There we go.
There it is.
So this is the thing that Adam was showing on the creator. So PAX West. So these are like the other devs.
Yeah, this is the PAX 10.
These are the other devs in the PAX 10. So like we talked to the other devs and we had them send us little one-liners about their games and we put them as NPCs. Then here is Steve, who is trying to win a cosplay competition. So Adam shrunk down the bodies of the characters and made them have giant heads to look like it's a person in a costume, you know? Yeah, so you can just do all kinds of ridiculous stuff with it. But
That's cool. And when you guys plan on launching this then?
We could technically go into beta now, but we'd rather it look nice first. So we're going to ideally go into beta in the next roughly month.
Okay.
If everything goes as planned, with the goal, but who knows, with the goal of launching in December officially. But we'd like it to actually be in beta for a solid few months before we go live.
Okay.
But the beta is going to be an invite-based beta with rolling admission into it. So we have a URL somewhere. I don't know what the URL is anymore, but we have a URL that people can sign up for an invite. And we'll just basically put them out probably 100 at a time, just to make sure that we can fix big problems as they come up, and that we have the appropriate server resources allocated to it.
Yep. So that's where we are with it right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yep.